first things first, by the way, I got my account back, so now I can continue making content and stuff, and practicing, especially since Evo's coming up. I was really annoyed that I wasn't able to play any of my fighting games for like a straight week while my account was banned or whatever, because Evo's coming up, so I gotta practice as much as I can. But anyways, yeah, so first things first about Abigail's V-trigger punches is that obviously he can charge it up, and there's 3 levels. There's default releasing it like a standard heavy punch that doesn't take any of his V gauge. Charging it to level 2 will cause a crumple state. And charging it to level 3 will cause a guard break or a crumple state on hit. Charging it to level 2, anything but max charge will just be exactly the same on block that it is normally. Standing heavy punch is -3 on block. Crouching heavy punch is -18, but it can be special canceled. And I forget what back hard punch is. Hang on. Back hard punch is -6. So as for the ones you'll be seeing most commonly, he also can charge forward heavy punch, but forward heavy punch whiffs on crouching opponents. It's not really like a guard break to deal with. So for the most part, the way all of his punches work is that he gets, in V-Trigger 1, he gets armor on his punches just regularly, even if he doesn't charge them. 1 hit of armor. This is universal. It's not like Zangief's heavy punch armor, where it doesn't armor against lows. This is armor against everything. So, including reversals, which is one of the biggest problems. But, yes, it doesn't armor against supers, because armor doesn't work against supers. And, it's 1 hit of armor, and then when he charges it to level 2, or level 3, he gets an additional hit of armor when he releases the punch itself. So, for example, even though he's charging, if you hit him with 2 hits really quickly, you'll blow him up because he only has the 1 hit of armor. However, if you wait and then wait for him to release the punch, once he releases the punch, he gets an additional hit of armor. And if he charges it up to level 3, all the way up to level 3, which is the guard break, which is what he's doing right now, his punch basically gets infinite armor. It's not technically infinite, it's technically, I believe, 100 hits of armor, but yeah, pretty much just, he can armor through anything past that point. And his armor disappears on, like, the 3rd active frame or something, so it's actually not that hard to, yeah, see, his punch came out, and that's why he didn't armor anything, and he just got hit, because of the armor ends really, really quickly after the punch actually comes out. So that's just basically how his armor works in the first place. The ones you'll be seeing, the biggest problem is when he's in the corner, because it's really hard to deal with his armor in those situations. But if you're in mid-screen and you see him charging up his punches in front of your face, usually he'll only do the back hard punch option if off of certain knockdowns or something. Back hard punch is his fastest guard break, and it leads him to a bunch of stuff. However, it's pretty short ranged. See, the thing is, when he's charging, you're in proximity block, so even if you're holding backwards, you can't block, but you can still jump, and you can still backdash. You're gonna want to backdash most of the time, but anyways. I guess I'll just briefly talk about the back hard punch one. Most of the time, Abigail's will use this off in like Oki situations where they're hitting you on your wake up with it, and I'll talk about that in a bit. But if he like forward dashes and is charging it in your face, usually if you're close enough to get hit by it in the first place, you're probably close enough to just walk up and throw it. That being said, it is very fast. It's faster than his standing heavy punch or crouching heavy punch ones, so. But yeah, armor doesn't do anything against throws. If you're a command throw character with a command throw that hits at a pretty decent range, you can probably just input that. Zangief can input like light SPD and then punish that once he's charging. But no, for most of these things, if you see him charging, if you're point blank, obviously just throw him. If he's charging anything, just hit back throw or just whatever. And if you're any farther away, you can backdash. And then forward dash and get a whiff punish. In addition to being the fastest on startup, back hard punch also recovers the fastest. So it's the most difficult to punish after you backdash. See, even that's not fast enough. So you can do stuff like that. Yeah, so on. And you can probably forward jump it. The only one that's difficult to jump is, this one's mildly difficult to jump if you're a little late. Standing heavy punch is really easy to jump since it barely hits into the air at all. And crouching heavy punch just hits everywhere on the screen. It hits you as high up as you can possibly go with a regular jump. But anyway, so yeah, that's back hard punch. And universally what you can do against all of these is, if you have certain options that, especially ones that are really easy to input, like Ryu's V skill, you can input them as late as possible and at a timing which it will only parry the absolute max charge of it. And if the Abigail player releases it earlier than that, then you'll just block the punch and it won't be a guard break because it's only a guard break at max charge. There is like a slight timing in which he can hit it slightly earlier and then hit you on the startup of the parry, but it would be very, very difficult to time that. So anyways, yeah. Parry, Zangief is one of the best because if Abigail's charging a punch in Zangief's face, Zangief can just hit flex and then just wait for the punch to come out. So yeah, character-specific options for the most part are how people deal with the Abigail charge punches. As for the various Abigail punches, you have this one, which if you see standing hard punch coming out, the best thing to do is just neutral jump, back jump, or forward jump. Just jump. Really easy to get out of the air. But that being said, if he releases it early, then if he hits you on the ground, if he hits you like slightly within the air like that, he usually has trouble comboing off that, although he can, especially in the corner. But if he hits you on the ground, you're going to eat a big combo, so that one's a little dangerous. It's not that bad to eat the guard crushes in mid-screen, because, especially standing heavy punch. If he does the standing heavy punch one, the only thing that he can really follow up with is, like, super, which he does get good, which will be heavily scaled, so most Abigail players probably won't go for that. But the super does give him decent Oki afterwards, or crouching hard kick, which doesn't really give him that great of Oki, because you can just back recover it and be a mile away from him after the crouching hard kick hits. Yeah, some Abigail players, Abigail players know that you won't get a lot of damage after doing a guard crush, so some of them use them to get reset situations, so like the standing hard punch, guard break, and then do like, say, a forward dash into an EX command throw. If they do a forward dash into an EX command throw, that's not real. That will be, -7 for Abigail. Because the guard crush is only 18 frames, and his forward dash is longer than that, so you can usually, if you're, like, mashing or anything like that, you can punish him for, like, trying to go for resets in those situations. But, sometimes he'll be, like, pretty close, and he'll just walk up and do, like, an EX command grab or something after you recover from the guard crush. In those situations, just be aware and see that the Abigail player is going for that, because he has to wait for the guard crush to be done in order to do that, and just you know, be on the lookout and know that a lot of Abigail players won't just be satisfied for taking the damage that they'll get off of a regular guard crush. They won't be satisfied with the damage or the Oki, especially in mid-screen. So like I said, once you block these various things, so if you block them when they're not fully charged at level 1 or level 2, then it's just the same, they'll be the same on block that they would normally be. Standing hard punch is -3 on block, so there's not that much you can do against that. Crouching hard punch is -18 on block, which is terrible, but he can cancel it into a variety of options. Usually he'll cancel it into one of the Abigail flips, or the regular or EX nitro charge. So in those situations, there are a few ways that you can universally punish that, depending on your character. So by default, if left as it is, his crouching hard punch is really minus on block. Like I said, it's minus 18, and his hitbox lingers for a really long time, especially up here in the air. So that means that a lot of characters with just regular Shoryukens can just punish this on block really easily. Because his hitbox lingers. It doesn't matter how close or far away he is. But yeah, the fastest thing Abigail can cancel into on block to keep it safe is the light Abigail flip. It's pretty difficult for him to block confirm that, but yeah, it is zero. Like, it is a true frame trap against like 3-framers, and it is 0 on block, so that's pretty good for him. But if you're far away, then the first hit won't connect. So if you're blocking at about this range, it'll still work the same. You can still punish with just uppercut or whatever, because it won't be a legit frame trap. And if he cancels it into the Nitro Charge, then the fastest thing that he can cancel into won't be like a real frame trap or anything like that. So it'll be like you'll be able to beat him out. Or if he just keeps running and armors through it, he could technically. I don't know if he can parry that quickly, but yeah, if he keeps running and armors through it, then he won't be able to. He still won't be able to punish you. At least not in this particular aspect. He can't punish Ryu's heavy Shoryuken. Because by the time that you fall down, then he's already run past you, so he can't really hit that one out of the air. Okay, yeah, he can parry it. But that'd be like a hard-ass read, though. So yeah, it's not like the most direct thing to punish his crouching hard punch on block, but anyways, when he's actually in the state charging it up, so standing hard punch, like I said, if he's charging it as an unblockable in V-Trigger 1, you can jump over it really easily. It doesn't hit you in the air very well. Crouching hard punch, if you're about this far away, you can backdash it. This far away or farther, you can backdash it. If you're about this close, you should probably try walking forward and throwing it. And if any of those options like don't work, you can just sit there and block. The blocking his guard breaks in mid screen isn't that bad. It's only in the corner that it gets really bad. But beyond that, just like know your character's options for dealing with the armor charged, especially like know what input, like when you can get 2 or ideally 3 hit sequences really well, because remember, even if he doesn't charge to max charge, if he releases the punch early, he'll get a second hit of armor. So try to do things that have 3 hits. If he's doing like say standing heavy punch, for example, it's not too bad to release like say a Shoryuken on the armor, because a lot of times you can get too high up, although he'll probably still be able to punish you on the recovery, but it won't be as bad as taking the hit or getting hit with anything else. And know like simple inputs that you can do to option select and either block an early release charge or punish the max release charge. Practice reacting to his various moves, especially in combination with his other moves in his arsenal, and performing the appropriate actions in each situation. And practice, you know, getting your punishes on those things if you're properly avoiding them. Like, if your character has like a few good options against Abigail's armor or his punches specifically, like fast multi-hitting moves that will break his armor really quickly. Because backdashing isn't always an option, especially once you're in the corner. It becomes really difficult to get away from his crouching heavy punch. It'll hit you all over the place in the air. There's no jumping to get away from it. the only way that anyone can jump to get away from this is by doing certain aerial moves, but then you won't recover fast enough to get a punish or even B+. And it's still really difficult to get high enough in the air to avoid the punch. Also, know that his standing heavy punch can be low profiled. And then punished, or just low profiled, like on the frame, so like so. One of the best things that you can have against Abigail's armor moves is his armor punches is like throw-based moves like command throws or throw attribute attacks, even throw attribute attacks that don't usually work like throws. So like Mika can just command throw from really far away, command throw. You don't have to deal with the armor on charge or the armor on the punch release. It just works and it just goes and it's fast. And it's usually a lot farther range than normal throws, so you don't have to spend any time moving forwards. But another thing that Mika can do is do throw attribute attacks. So if we set him to block, we can see that this strike, I'm not entirely sure it shows, but yeah, this strike just hits normally. But then if you do the follow-up attack right there, that is actually a throw. It will never actually throw the opponent because it physically can't. But if we put the opponent back to playing, we can see that, and that's not because the forward medium punch is beating out the armor. Like that will, no matter how late, that is a throw type move that will throw the armor. And so you can just do that. That's especially handy in the corner for putting side switching. Armor moves, also incredibly useful. Especially moves that have armor that lasts for a really long time. Because Abigail's armor punches do not last well into the move. They only last on startup. So if you do moves like Mika's EX Peach or whatever, especially off of like jabs so that you can make sure it hits multiple times, the armor will usually go through really easily. If you're a character that doesn't have that many great options for dealing with Abigail's punches, especially in the because the universal options like backdashing his crouching hard punch if you're this far away, or just throwing him if you're about this close, which only works like it depends on the character's throw range and walk speed, but most characters can usually do it before the guard break happens. But anyways, yeah, if you're dealing with all that stuff, none of that, you don't have those options to avoid his crouching heavy punch once in the corner. And it still hits like all the way up in the air. You can't jump over it. It'll hit you well over his head, so yeah. It's really difficult to escape guard breaks at his optimal range, about this close in the corner, where you can no longer backdash it. So a lot of the times, unless you're a character that has some of those options available to you, you don't have that many tools at your disposal to deal with it, except using invincible reversals. And not every character, obviously not every character has invincible reversals anyways, so sometimes it's just difficult to get around, difficult to deal with. But taking the guard break is usually less damage than trying to do something that's not going to work and then failing, like trying to jump over and then getting hit. And if he does too many of those, he's just gonna run out of his V trigger. And he definitely won't get a second one in a single round. So, but yeah, in order to avoid situations where you're like forced to spend an EX gauge and an invincible reversal or super,
it's not done. Handle this.
then in those situations, like if he knocks you down with certain knockdowns and then goes for a meaty guard break, those meaty guard breaks only work off of, well, he can get a universal hard knockdown off of if he leaves his standing heavy punch crumple as it is, which he can do to get like he usually does to get cross-up mix-ups, like ambiguous cross-up mix-ups with a double jump over. But he could technically set up like a near unavoidable guard break as a meaty there, where you would either have to spend meter in order to use an invincible reversal, or just take the guard break, guard crush. But other than that, yeah, to avoid those situations, you just have to like mix up between quick rising, back teching, and no teching. Usually between quick rising and no teching, because if he does it, it's difficult for him to time because the moves have such long startups. So if he has guaranteed like meaty setups, they'll usually work for only only quick rise and back tech, or only for no tech. The back hard punch is the hardest one to deal with, because back hard punch for Abigail recovers the fastest, so he could do it to cover quick rise, and then he could and he can still meaty you if you no tech. So that one kind of sucks, but you'll at least avoid getting guard crushed, and he has to spend some of his V gauge in order to do that. And because of that, I would recommend probably trying to conserve your meter early in the match, just so that you'll have meter available to do invincible reversals and supers to punish his charges if he gets wrong and he's charging it right in your face. You should also probably practice reacting to his charge punches on wake up situations, just so that you can always hit him with an invincible reversal. If you have it doesn't necessarily have to be frame 1 invincibility, because like I said, it's really hard to time them to be frame perfect. So if you have an invincible reversal that just has strike invincibility on say the 3rd frame onwards or whatever, especially one that hits multiple times, say Ken's heavy Shoryuken, you can do that instead without spending meter, so that's fine in a lot of situations. Like so. So if I were to press anything else in that situation, it would be so yeah, meterless uppercuts that have multiple hits to them, especially that have some invincibility, even if not on the first frame, are also very useful. So yeah, just take a look and see what your character's options are, and to avoid the punches and things like that. And be sure to practice those so you don't accidentally as part of a habit or something react and try to jump, especially try to forward jump over the crouching hard punch. You can forward jump over the standing hard punch just fine, but you'll never get over that crouching hard punch. Instead, see what your character can do and then go for things that are real. And yeah, that's pretty much it.